Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. Another edition of Inside the Headset, the Wednesday night edition. It is our last one and got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but now we should be up and rolling. Sorry about that. Hey, our show was sponsored tonight by John Jones, John Jones Real Estate. Nobody sells homes like John. We're going to start off down in Helena, Alabama. My good friend, the head coach of the Helena Huskies, head coach Richie Busby. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm well, Stork. How are you doing, man?
Doing really well and looking forward, hopefully. And I will see you next week. Is that on the agenda?
I hope so.
Okay, I'm coming down.
I don't know, John. Hollywood hasn't said anything. Is that tournament on a Friday?
No, I think that's on a Wednesday. We're going to that Wednesday will be the day before, and then Thursday is the golf tournament. And then I think there's a little bit of a Hollywood gathering afterwards, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there'll be two nights
on Thursday. Yeah,
I think it'll be 2 nights of Hollywood, is what I'm thinking. I'm not for sure.
Oh God,
that's kind of hard to take.
Start taking Advil now.
No, well,
you better start taking Advil.
I tell you. Well, you're 4-5 over in all, 4-2 in the region, and before we had our little technical difficulties, we were speaking and everything. And when you started off the season, you kind of told us, hey, Stork, and to probably the fans that, I don't know how quick we're going to grow. I don't know where we're kind of going to be because we're a very young football team. And the kids will kind of make that decision, whether it be the growth of the team or how quick we decide. And several coaches that I've interviewed throughout the past, Ron Adelot was a proponent of this. He kind of said, I'm not playing. The kids are the one playing, so they're the ones that decide. They're just how good they want to be and how quick they want to grow up. But you had a lot of faith that they're pretty disciplined ball club, and I'll let you speak on it there where you sit right now.
Yeah, like I said before we get cut off. I mean, we preached to them all year, and I think one benefit of us not kind of folding up the tents after starting out 1-5, even though we were preaching to them that, hey, we're going to be okay, was the fact that we had our 3 rivals back to back to back, week 7, 8, and 9. And, the proximity of some of those schools to us, and it's a big deal. I mean, you work a whole year to try to win those games. And fortunately, we were able to do that with wins over Pelham and Chelsea and then Calera last week. So, I'm sure that was part of it, but, in this day and age when they can hit a button and they have their answer or their, whatever you want to call it, instant gratification, it's kind of hard to get a bunch of teenagers to keep believing. But like I said, we practiced well. If you come to one of our practices, you couldn't tell that we were 1-5. And looking back on it, I kind of realized it as we were going through it, but looking back on it, once we beat Pelham, I said, the kids never stopped working. They never stopped practicing. You wouldn't have known our record was 6-0 or 1-5. So I think that says a lot about our kids. But we've had 3 really good weeks, and going into the Tarrant week this week, and then getting ready for the playoffs next week.
Yeah, and this is and you kind of played you played 9 in a row, Coach. I mean, you played one, then I think you were off, and then you came back. So your break was real early. I mean, your break was way back when people were wearing shorts, and I mean, and playing
week 0.
Yeah,
week
so
0.
Yeah, or week.
Which I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if it's me as a coach and I don't do a good job or whatever, but I've been doing this long enough that I've had mid-season breaks. I've had years where our off week was week 9 going into 10, and lots of those times we were undefeated. And I guess I'm say we've done a good job of keeping the kids in it this year through a bad season, but I don't know that I've ever done a really good job coming out of a late season bye week. So I really don't mind
That's
playing
a good point.
Straight through. I think it's hard for kids when you see that off week or bye week that, hey, we still got to go to work and practice and prepare and try to stay sharp. But it's hard, if you have a late bye week, you're beat up already. So it's hard to kind of go ones-on-ones, whether it be 10, 15, 20 plays at the end of each practice to kind of keep the game speed going because you're already beat up. So I really prefer, going straight through. I think it has a lot to do with the maturity of the ball team and how you handle it, but I guess that's my fault. I've just never liked the off week late in the year, and I know a lot of people take week 10 off the week before the playoffs, but, I don't really prefer it week 0 like it was.
No, no.
I'd like it somewhere around week 4 or 5 where if you do kind of drop off, you can recover again and get to playing well going in. But this is our 10th straight. Luckily it's against, the team we're playing is very outmatched. I don't know how much we got before we got cut off, but the guy that's head coach of this team worked with us at Helena 4 or 5 years, and he's taken over a really struggling football team that financially they don't have a lot. And so he called me last summer, and he's like, hey, we don't have a week 10. You don't have a week 10. Would you pay us to come there and play a game? And I'm like, sure I would. So we're paying them enough money that it'll cover their entire travel and food budget next year. And also we're providing their pregame and postgame meals. So this will be significant for their program. We've helped them out with equipment and that type of stuff over the last year. So our starters, we could rest every one of them, but we'll play them 1 or 2 series, and we're dressing everybody that we've got, probably about 115 kids, just to have to play. But this is more about, it's our senior nights, the end of the year, and the way our schedule was so messed up, just trying to get in a homecoming at the end, and senior night, youth night, it helped us, but it's really helping them financially.
Well, and I like what you're doing here. I really do. You still, I interviewed Kevin today, and we were talking, and, he was talking that, sometimes when you get into a spinning clock, I don't get a chance to get my ones and get what I need to get done in order for them to stay sharp and come back next week. And, coach's philosophy, whatever you need to do there. But at the same time, I do love it that you are helping out another program that, maybe wouldn't have the chance, and they need, like you said, they need the money, they need the game, and as long as you're not going to try to, punish them in any form or fashion, you know what you're doing. Now, you're not going to tell your kids not to score, but you're not going to keep your ones in for, the first 2 quarters. You're going to, as soon as you know that the one kid's got his touchdown, that's it. Have a seat, you're probably done for the night. It's good. That's just the way it's going to be. Yeah. So it is what it is, but what a great time and opportunity for it to come, because you need a little bit of this rest. So just for them to, it is a senior night. So, yeah, you just went through that gauntlet, that 3, the Chelsea, Calera, and Pelham, the gauntlet there. And now you're back out on the other end, and, I like where you are, Coach, headed into the playoffs. I like this Week 10 game.
Yeah, I do too. And it's kind of I don't, mean this the wrong way, but it's kind of an off week, but it's still a game week where they've still prepared and practiced well. Now, we've cut back on the time that we've been on the field this week, spent a little more time in the weight room than a normal game week, just trying to ease up on the wear and tear. But at the same time, it's a little bit of 50% of both. It's both good on both ends. So it'll be good for us. It'll be good for their program. It shocks me that the amount of money they spend in the whole year in travel and food we spend in 1 week. So I kind of miss those days when I was back in 3A football where it wasn't so expensive. But it'll be good for them, and their kids will get to come to a beautiful stadium that, they obviously probably don't see in 3A football. So, I'm excited about seeing some of those guys that he's taken over there to coach with him, and, excited for our 15 seniors. We've got 18 of our 22 starters returning next year. So of the seniors that'll be, recognized tomorrow night, we're going to try to start every one of them. I mean, obviously there's some things that we can't, that we can't control, but, those guys will get to start and play. And, I think it'll be a good night for our program and their program.
And, headed into the playoffs, I mean, your philosophy there, I mean, Coach, can you share a little bit? I mean, when you do your practices, is it pretty set that we're just mostly focused on the opponent? I mean, we're not beating ourselves up, I mean, some guys, I mean, it's pretty set. It's about 1 hour and 20 minutes maybe is all they go. And, I mean, it's a pretty designed practice, Monday, Tuesday, and then, Thursday's a walkthrough, and then you're back into finding out if you can live and die and play and practice another couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we're going to do next week is we're going to move our practice on Tuesday and Wednesday to the afternoon, just because it's going to be pretty cold up here. And
Yep.
You're out there on the field at 6 a.m. You got guys with their hands in their pockets if it's a Monday install with shells on, and they got hoodies on and all that stuff. They just don't move around very well. We started that a few years ago, but we're on the field an hour and 15 minutes on Monday, and then we lift after that. Tuesday is our long day. Hour and 55 minutes. Wednesdays will be an hour and 30 minutes, and then Thursday will be an hour run through, and all the specialty groups and trick plays and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm just not one of those, and our kids know it. Like, we can't be the coach that, hell, we're going to stay here and turn the lights on. I mean, we practice at 6 a.m. School starts at 9:04. We got to be off the field at 8 o'clock so they can shower and eat. So, I guess that's kind of their advantage of us not being able to, stay out there for 3 or 4 hours. But I mean, I don't know how much good that does anymore. I mean, now we know after an hour and 40, hour and 50 minutes, they're not retaining a whole lot if they last that long, and nor am I. So,
well,
we hardly ever know.
I was just getting ready to say, though, you just about know how far you can get, and you got to get hot, and then you got to get in a rhythm, and these kids got to grow up a whole lot, and whether or not that happens, and then the football's shaped funny, and we go down that road, and a lot of things got to happen, and people just don't understand that the bottom can fall out in 2 seconds. You lose a key player like a quarterback or somebody like that, or your number one tailback or anything. I mean, this thing you're holding in your hand, it's very fragile. It's a moving. Fragile. It's just I don't know. People just don't. I don't know if they understand what you guys go through. But
winning a state championship, I mean, obviously, it's a good draw of a bracket. There's a lot of luck. I say luck, but when I say that, I mean, like, you got to be fortunate with injuries and that type of stuff throughout the year. And there's things that got to happen. I mean, now there's years where you have a dominant team, and it don't matter who they run out there against them, they're going to win. But, I remember we were 9-0 in 2019, my second year at Helena, and we draw Clay Chalkville, who is probably the best team in the state of Alabama, and they had to forfeit 3 games because they had ineligible players, so they become the 4 seed in that region, and we're the 1 seed. Thought we had a quarterfinal, maybe a semifinal football team, and we run into them game 1 because they played an ineligible player. Unfortunately, but that's the bad luck that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And it did, and it was an unbelievable game. They beat us there at the end, but you got to have a little luck. You got to stay healthy, and you got to make the plays when it gets cold and wet. You got to be able to run the football. You just got to have a few breaks. I mean, I don't think any coach ever won one didn't have a few breaks somewhere along the line in a 14, 15-game schedule.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I've got a really, I hope you can tune in tomorrow night on Stork Vision. We've got a really good game 10. We got Rockville and Blackman going at it, and Rockville, they got to have the win. They got to have it if they want to go to the playoffs. The only other way they can go to the playoffs is somebody's got to beat somebody else across town, and so now you're relying on them. So the type of hitting. If you knew, Coach Busby, that tomorrow night might be your last game, the type of hitting and the type of, it's going to be a really, really good football game as far as we're concerned.
Well, that's we tell our kids all the time, that's the kind of games you want to play in.
Oh, yeah.
Matter the most.
Yeah, I think so. And if not, and of course you kind of got a layout and you've kind of watched around and everything, but what our county's all about and everything, so I hope you can tune in. But anyway, the big news is you and I will get to visit with each other next week, as Alabama Wireless Golf Tournament is next week, and I got to be in Louisville for the first part of the week for a meeting, and then it'll be down to Birmingham to visit with you guys and see what's going on, and that's always a big time. They put on a great show, and I am your photographer. I'll be shooting all the pictures for that fine golf tournament.
brother, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, we'll have a laugh, that's for sure. I look forward to seeing you, Coach Busby. Until then, good luck Friday night, and we'll talk next week at Alabama Wireless.